Welcome to Perfect Word Media. My name is Chief-Monroe Johnson, and I am in Geraldine, Alabama. I Googled toy red barn, and I took that image to a barn building company in Albertville about 15 years ago, and I said, I want that barn for my mother. And they gave me a figure after about 10 days of studying it, and I built this barn for my mother. And I tore down her chicken house that I saw her work in for about 30 years. I helped her in the poultry business. Folks, there's a war on Christianity. I suggest you read the book, The War Against Christianity, by Troy J. Smith. It's people that claim to be Christians that are killing the true church of Christ Jesus on earth. They're trying to destroy the kingdom of God. And folks, I'm going to tell you something. Those are cows, if you hear that noise. We grew up on this cattle farm. We had horses and all the other farm animals that most farms have. We had a poultry house. This was an 80-acre cotton farm. And now it's a cattle farm. And I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. Our banker is Margaret Lacey, Vice President of Cadence Bank, Gunnersville. And when the Supreme Court overturned an illegal jury-tampered verdict in a $5 million Marshall County, Alabama, USA lawsuit against my family, she gave away all of our money under the guise of cashing stolen checks. Approximately $40,000 in our business checking account. She wanted to gain favor with the Marshall County authorities. And then they awarded us zero restitution after they convicted the thief. Two attorneys, Brock Boone at the ACLU in Montgomery, Alabama, and Cynthia Renee Webb Wright in Huntsville, they both said this is not legally possible. This is another illegal judgment by a Marshall County Circuit Court judge. Folks, there are 5 crooked judges in this story, 8 illegal judgments, and 1 city judge that signed 2 illegal court orders. It doesn't end there. I wish it did. It got real violent when Sheriff Phil Sims was elected November the 3rd, 2018. About 6 weeks prior to him being elected, our chief financial officer, Roger Coit Chappell, a.k.a. Spiritual Grandpa Brother Chappell, without permission because he didn't need it, he went into Bancorp South Bank in Gunnersville that's now Cadence Bank. They renamed the bank. And he asked Margaret Lacey, tell me about this $40,000 that resulted in zero restitution for Eugenia. And Margaret Lacey, according to him, and I have it recorded on audio recording, she put her hands up in his face. We'll not go there, we'll not go there. You get out of here and don't you come back. You get out of my office and don't you come back. Okay, about 6 weeks after that, Sheriff Phil Sims is elected sheriff, and we're told by a bank insider that the 2 of them conspired to take my family down because the bank holds the first mortgage, and the mortgage had been paid down on a approximate $1 million property from $340,000 to $40,000. That's how much she gave away. Okay, now she's going for the kill. right before we can pay off our mortgage, and telling, in essence, the sheriff, you got a badge, you got a gun, I helped you get elected, get them. And folks, when we were warned of this, we began to go to every government consumer agency to stop the conspiracy that was in play. And nobody would believe it. They do now. Nobody would believe it. The FBI said, we work with these guys. We just find this hard to believe. Another high-powered Republican said to Brother Chappell, this embarrasses the Republican Party. And Brother Chappell said, I'm a registered Republican. We got to stop this. They're killing Miss Eugenia. They're killing me, Brother Chappell. They've had Brother Johnson sexually assaulted. The property's been set on fire 6 times in now about 18 months. They have used 5 high-powered illegal firearm entrapment exercises trying to illegally incarcerate me with a mandatory minimum 15-year federal prison system. Folks, this is how they do it. They ordered me sexually assaulted by chiropractor John Allen Smith, April 15th, 2019 at 12:18 p.m. Central Standard Time, USA. He is located right next door to the Albertville-City Police Magistrate's Office. They just recently relocated that magistrate's office across the road. I don't blame them. I'd get away from him too. Folks, there's nothing more dangerous than a dirty cop. And we need help. Now, we have been injured. They have cost our First Credit auto business $1.3 million. We were taken in and paying sales tax on approximately $18,000 a month. They destroyed it. Why? Sheriff Phil Sam said, take them down. I want Margaret to have Eugenia's $1 million property. I'm going to bankrupt them. We couldn't stop them. We begged them, stop it. They wouldn't stop. So we filed under the Ku Klux Klan Act at the Hugo L. Black Federal Courthouse, and U.S. District Court Judge Anne Marie Carney-Axon told the state of Alabama, Marshall County, Alabama, the city of Albertville, Bancorp South Bank, now Cadence Bank, and Liberty Bank of Geraldine. That bank is about 2 miles from right here where I'm videoing. Yep. And that man is dangerous. Chris Bailey. Brother Chappell said he is a slithering rattlesnake. He lied to the FDIC and called Brother Chappell an abhorrent liar. Brother Chappell said that we had a prayer in his office. It's true. Brother Chappell led us in prayer when Chris Bailey approved a $150,000 bank loan. He stalled and stonewalled. He violated the FDIC regulations. And then he called Brother Chappell an abhorrent liar. He engaged in a $1 million real estate heist with Marshall County. That's what Chris Bailey did. He should be indicted by a federal grand jury. You have got Margaret Lacey of Cadence Bank, vice president. And I ask these men, what in you allowed yourself to be victimized by this contemptuous woman, Margaret Lacey from Memphis, Tennessee? She never went to college. I don't have a problem with that. You attack my family repeatedly to bankrupt us and steal our life savings and get us killed. And I'm going to tell people what you did and who you are. Now, I need help. Marshall County is crooked. They're dangerous. And they have done everything they could to kill my family. They stressed Brother Chappell to death, a World War II, war-disabled Navy veteran, 95 years of age. Mm-hmm. And also, he was a high priest in the Melchizedek priesthood for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and the great-grandson to Kaiser Wilhelm II. That's Germany's last emperor. And his great-grandmother was the chief executive housekeeper for Kaiser Wilhelm II in the Crown Princess Palace of Berlin, Germany. And his grandmother, who was the offspring from that love affair, became John D. Rockefeller's chief executive housekeeper in Hyde Park, commonly known as the Rockefeller Mansion. Both of those mansions are now public museums. The Crown Princess Palace of Berlin, Germany, and the Rockefeller Mansion. A 40-room mansion, 2,500 acre, donated recently by who? The Rockefeller family. Why am I telling you this? Brother Chappell was an extraordinary man. He was also friends with Sam Walton. He tried to mediate this. He tried to neutralize the hate. These people are very vindictive. It's because we won in the Supreme Court without any financial compensation against a $5 million extortion scheme. And they have returned relentlessly to kill us. They stressed Brother Chappell to death. He dropped dead after an abhorrent miscarriage, absolute egregious miscarriage of justice in Marshall County against him, where he was threatened with incarceration because he asked for a fair and impartial trial, and he asked the judge, "We just want to know who ordered him to do it." Who's he? Chiropractor John Allen Smith. Do what? Sexually assault J. Monroe Johnson on April the 15th, 2019, right after Sheriff Sims had become the sheriff, folks. This hadn't ended, going on 5 years now, and the damage is real. The damage is done. They're just waiting to take the property. They bankrupted us to steal $1 million property because we stopped them in the Supreme Court from stealing $5 million cash. They then sabotaged $10 million. Watch our videos. They retaliated when we appealed the $5 million extortion scheme. Who's they? The judges of Marshall County, Alabama. Right here. Google Johnson versus Marshall County. And go on YouTube, Spiritual Grandpa Live 100. My mother is a absolutely gracious and righteous woman. We don't deserve this. We've given everything to this world properly, righteously, a lifetime of prayer. We're Christians. We're good faith Christians. We're not hypocrites. And we're tired of being abused. Now I ask you for help. Any way you can. Get us a federal criminal probe. Get us a federal grand jury to indict 5 key players in this $1 million real estate heist. That's Margaret Lacey of Cadence Bank, Vice President. That's Sheriff Phil Sims, Marshall County, Alabama, USA. That's Chris Bailey, Liberty Bank, Geraldine, Alabama. That's Jimmy Carnes, Prosecuting Attorney, Albertville-City, Alabama, USA.
You know what all them need to do? They need to do the Marshall County Shuffle doing the walk of shame.
Yeah, they wanted my mother to do the walk of shame when she was innocent, and they convicted her with a 12-member jury, knowing she had done nothing wrong, but they wanted to beat her into submission and force her to give them her money. And when she appealed it to the Supreme Court in Montgomery, when she left Marshall County and went to Montgomery to the Supreme Court, Chief Justice Tom Parker took the case, and that's when they held up her license 9 months. She had 3,500 finance customers, 36 full-time female employees in 5 Alabama counties, 25 office locations. They had 30 days to resolve any license dispute, and it took them 9 months. They threatened her with state prison. That's the real Marshall County, folks. This is real Alabama.
Yes,
this is the white power structure crumbled. They have no legitimate power, no legitimate authority. They're not trustworthy. They're not credible. It's duplicity, absolute rank hypocrisy.
And they're a bunch of liars. Straight
rank
up liars.
Duplicity. Straight up liars,
Straight
folks.
Up. Yep.
Abhorrent liars. What they've called us, they are.
Exactly.
Times 10. We always speak the truth. They know it. They've run around trying to scare people that we are a public hazard because they know they are. And they know they're now caught, and they are running for the hills now, folks. I told U.S. Judge Axon, I said, you know, Your Honor, they all got one thing in common. All of these 64 defendants. 64? Yeah, 64. It started out with 28. When you Google Johnson versus Marshall County, you're going to see 28. I added them all because she said, I want them all on federal court record. I want every one of them. Tell me, I want them all listed. And I listed them. It went from 28 to 64. Tell it all.
That's quite a few folks.
And then she put them under a federal court mandate. Do not violate Miss Eugenia's constitutional rights again. And Sheriff Phil Sims did. Direct contempt of a federal court mandate. And another county official did as well.
How is he in direct contempt?
He's in direct contempt.
Yeah, how?
Because he did not want to create a paper trail on a $300,000 automobile theft. 70 cars stolen, folks. When Brother Chappell and I, spiritual grandpa Brother Chappell and I went to the literary festival where I grew up in Monroe County, Alabama, Monroeville, where To Kill a Mockingbird was written by who? Harper Lee.
Yep.
The most published novel in the world, second only to the Holy Bible, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Good book.
It's about racism, folks, and how an innocent American was convicted and tortured and tormented to death when he was completely innocent. And here you've got them doing it again, these white male, white supremacists. Some white females are involved. And I ask, how do they allow themselves to be victimized like this? How did Chris Bailey allow Margaret Lacey to victimize him like this? Why didn't he go to the FBI in Gadsden? Why did John Allen Smith not go to the FBI in Gadsden? See, Chris Bailey was told, sabotage the loan. Don't do the loan, but stall them out as long as you can. Well, that's a federal violation of FDIC procedure, policy, law. And they claim Fifth Amendment, lawyer up, you can't prove it. We're way past that now, folks.
That story, To Kill a Mockingbird, where's it based at? I mean,
Monroeville, Alabama.
It was based in Alabama.
Based in Alabama.
Imagine that.
Right where I grew up. Look, I grew up playing around and in that courthouse that is featured in To Kill a Mockingbird.
That's awesome.
It's just absolutely historic, and it's very surreal.
And it's Alabama doing the abuse.
Alabama doing it again.
Absolutely.
And the thing about it is, To Kill a Mockingbird is a fiction novel.
And
this is real. This is a real story.
Right.
Of a white American female being crucified by the white power structure in the 21st century. It's just mind-blowing at what they've done to my family.
And everything that we say is true, and we have proof. If you need proof, just come by.
Folks, I want you to hear me because the last high-powered man I told this to, he didn't know whether I was recording him or not, and he didn't speak. He nodded, but I said, this is how they're killing people. And he nodded, yeah. This is how they're killing people. Folks, they want you to lose everything and commit suicide. And they did this in Albertville to Miss Eugenia's brother, David Keith Rogers.
And she's been attacked for years. I mean, her brother, then the hangings in Buck Island.
Yeah, they did this in 1863 to her great-grandpa.
Wow. When's Miss Eugenia ever going to get a break? I mean, really?
And 4 uncles. Benjamin Roden and Portland Roden.
Hence the Roden Cemetery there on Lewis Mountain down in Claysville.
They've been killing my family for going on 300 years.
Well, it's about time it stops.
For our property. Who's they? The white people in the government of the South. They massacring my family for our property.
Well, it's about time Miss Eugenia gets just justice.
Yeah, and then she married my father, Larry Clyde Johnson, that's the father to Damon Rogers Johnson,
Lead guitarist.
who's the lead guitarist for
Leonard Skinner. Leonard Skinner.
And, you know, we're the Leonard Skinner family of Northeast Alabama. Folks, people are now wanting a Leonard Skinner concert at the Monroe compound. We can do that.
Absolutely.
The date is to be announced, but we can do that. Any other statements or questions? I just want to say the reason I brought up my father is his grandfather was murdered by a sheriff in Macon, Georgia. There's DNA evidence, witness testimony. My stepmother, his current wife, Jackie Johnson in Millersville, Georgia, she's got all the documents on that. It's everything we say is true. What's amazing is the truth.
Absolutely.
It's the most amazing thing.
What did St. Augustine say about the truth?
The truth. Well, let me say what Chief Justice Tom Parker said regarding this case where Miss Eugenia appealed the $5 million extortion scheme by the judges of Marshall County. None of them had the fortitude to stop the one crooked judge, David Evans, or the one crooked lawyer, Dale Fuller, who was later disbarred over another incident. But the Chief Justice Tom Parker said, the truth is an absolute defense against defamation. And folks, what happened there is they were calling my mother a liar when they were lying and knew it.
Mm-hmm.
But folks, they convicted her with a 12-member jury in a $5 million extortion scheme that cost her over $100,000 cash to defend, blew up her life. And then they retaliated and cost $10 million when she appealed it. She also had to meet the conditions of putting up $60,000 in an escrow account before the Supreme Court would even hear the case.
That should have never went to court to begin with.
Oh, that's what the Chief Justice Tom Parker and the unanimous Supreme Court said. This case should have never gone to a jury for factual review. Folks, if you don't know what that means, the judges of Marshall County knew good and well they were breaking the law, and they didn't care.
Because they got immunity.
Because they have qualified immunity,
Yeah.
and they're abusing it. And Ms. Collins' attorney, Cynthia Renee Webb Wright, told the judge, Your Honor, you cannot legally do this. This is not legally possible. This is a frivolous $5 million lawsuit. This case must be dismissed. Get out of here, woman. This is mine. In essence, he let it go to a jury, then he let the illegal judgment stand.
In which
The Supreme Court said he should have overridden the 12-member jury,
Right.
and he should have never let it go to a jury. Folks, it's a tampered jury. It's a crooked county, and now they've come to kill us.
And which judge was that?
That was David Evans, retired in
Judge,
disgrace.
yeah.
Circuit Court Judge David Evans, breaking the law right before he exits into retirement on the taxpayer's dole. Folks, these people are parasitic, and they're very vindictive.
And he retired in disgrace, so he apparently had to walk a little bit of the walk of shame.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anytime you retire in disgrace.
He had to walk the walk of shame.
But he didn't have to do the Marshall County shuffle.
We should have been compensated for the financial damages at the time, which would have been approximately, we'll go with $15 million. They popped us for 5, treble damage. They sabotaged 10. I mean, you know. All right, so anyway, when I told my mother, I said, Mother, I have filed under the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871. Ulysses S. Grant passed it 6 years after the Civil War ended, and he was the 18th president. And it's the greatest civil rights act of all time ever given to any people on earth. Well, we're the people that have that, folks.
Mm-hmm.
If you are being abused by a federal or state agent and they're violating your constitutional rights, my suggestion is you get white vinyl stickers and you have them placed on the side of your car windows, and get you a YouTube channel, and then you go down to your nearest federal courthouse and you file under the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871. It'll cost you $402. You can fill it out with just a regular pen, handwrite it, and tell the federal judge what has happened to you. And you're going to have a federal judge hear what has happened to you. All right, then you go to your nearest national park and you file for a $50 First Amendment peaceful protest permit. Mm-hmm. And we have that now. We'll be at the Little River Canyon National Park with our federal permit tomorrow, June 10th, 2023. We'll be there from 10 to 2. We'll be at the waterfall at 10 to about 1, and then from 1 to about 4 till about maybe dusk. at the canyon down there where they have the campgrounds and all. So we're going to be at the waterfall, up at the waterfall in the morning, and we'll be down in the canyon where the campgrounds are in the evening. But anyway, you're welcome to come.
Absolutely.
And bring some, wear your Leonard Skinner t-shirt, would you? I mean, that's the greatest music. Leonard Skinner is the greatest Southern rock band of all time, undisputed.
Yep.
Led Zeppelin's the greatest rock band of all time, and Elvis Aaron Presley is the king of rock and roll. And, you know, when I ask people, who's the king of country, it's Hank, okay? So just understand that we're in the finance business, we're in the music business, and we're in the travel industry. I have family members in all of those industries: finance, travel, and music. And you know what, folks? You should be able to live your life without the government repeatedly conspiring with corporate America to rape, rob, pillage, slander, steal, kill, destroy, and set you on fire. Everybody knows you should, but they believe they can get away with it. Now, there is a fifth person that I've left out, and I'll let you figure it out. You decide which judge it should be. Should it be Judge David Evans, the first one, or the last one, or the middle one? Folks, these people have just ruined our lives. We get one life, as do you, and they've ruined ours. Don't let them ruin yours. Stop the violence. Stop the tyranny. Stop the treason. And again, be aware and stop the war against Christianity by the Antichrist. They claim to be Christians, and they act under the control of the devil, folks. They are a collective force of evil, and they are advocates of the devil, and that is filed in federal court. And I promise you, U.S. District Court Judge Anne Marie Carney Axon and Chief Justice Tom Parker and the unanimous Supreme Court of Alabama and U.S. District Judge Brian Turner, they're all well aware that whether you take it literally, metaphorically, or any way, I'm telling the truth.
Amen.
I am absolutely telling the pure truth.
And you got the proof to back it.
And I got the proof to back it. They have killed Brother Chappell. They bankrupted Miss Eugenia. And they have had me sexually assaulted. And what gave me PTSD, which is hellish, folks. If you've got somebody in your family with PTSD, please just pray for them. It's hellish.
It's bad.
It's bad.
There's
and the people that know me see me suffer with this. It's really, really bad. And it's just hellish. And they did it to me because the county moved to protect the criminal sex offender, chiropractor John Allen Smith, after the fact. And that's what just created PTSD in me. But anyway, folks, I'm trying to help the future. We're going to get justice for Miss Eugenia. The public's now getting on board with it. They realize that Sheriff Phil Sims and a district court judge is in direct contempt of U.S. District Court Judge Anne Marie Carney Axon's federal mandate. Any other statements or any other questions? St. Augustine's quote, here it is, folks. The truth is like a lion. You do not have to defend it. Let me say it again. The truth is like a lion. You do not have to defend it. Let it loose. It will defend itself. I'll close with that. Any other statements, any other questions, anything at all?
Yeah, I'd just like to let the public know, like tomorrow at 10 o'clock, you're more than welcome to come join us. You know, we'd actually appreciate it.
Go ahead and say that on the speaker if you would. It's not on audio real good. Loud and clear.
All right, on June the 10th, which is tomorrow at 10 o'clock, Saturday at Little River Canyon, if you want to join it.
The big waterfall.
The big waterfall. If you would like to join in on the protest, you're more than welcome to. We would appreciate the more the merrier, because not only are we fighting for our rights, we're fighting for your rights too.
We're fighting for our nation.
And yes.
Future.
We're fighting for our nation's future.
You're
These
fighting for
people
your
are a
life.
threat to our democracy.
Well, you're fighting for your life. I mean,
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
trying to strip you of everything you got.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm
They
saying?
want the death of us.
And it's not right. The federal government is to work for us, not take away
And
from
the
us.
state government, too.
Yes,
And the
it's just-
system moves to protect the system, folks.
It does.
That's what's happened. That's why we've got to get the public.
Yes.
Folks, they forced us to do this.
And,
we never mentioned that we were the Leonard Skinner family until a lady brought it up
Yes.
during a video,
Right.
and it went on YouTube.
Yes. See,
So
even though
that
they've
just
attacked-
happened,
Right.
we were not bringing that up. Someone brought it up unexpectedly.
Right. So
She
even
said,
though-
isn't your brother Damon Johnson with Leonard Skinner? And I said, Damon Johnson is my brother. He is
Yep.
older than me, and he can do anything because he is the lead guitarist of Leonard Skinner.
and-
There are two, and they duel. They're the lead guitarist of Leonard Skinner, and they duel. It's like a banjo dueling
Yeah.
contest.
It'd be
Watch
something-
Leonard
it'd be
Skinner
something
on
to watch,
YouTube.
but David-
Listen to the lyrics
Right.
of Ronnie Van Zant that passed away October 1977, about 2 months after Elvis Aaron Presley passed away. And in a fiery plane crash in Mississippi, he was 29 years old and an absolute lyrical and music genius.
Right.
Read the words of Simple Man, Free Bird, and Sweet Home Alabama. He loved the South. He did not condone abuse. His lyrics speak of
Volumes.
does your conscience bother you? He was telling people to be kind and stop
Absolutely.
the racial abuse. Folks, most abuse among humans, if you want to know, is due to the lack of effective communication. And then beyond that,
That is true.
it is either racial or gender or religion. And the religion trumps the racial and the gender. Why? They use the religion to justify the racial and the gender abuse.
That's kind of
Christ
like,
Jesus does not condone abuse. He condemns abuse.
Yes, he does.
Nowhere in the New Testament is violence condoned.
well, it actually,
Nowhere.
It actually says in the Bible, for if you get slapped in the cheek, for you to turn that cheek and then forgive whoever.
Because violence begets violence.
Violence.
Evil begets evil. It snowballs.
Well, once you start getting violent, you start getting evil
Can't
because
do that. You've got
yes.
to trust in the Lord.
Absolutely.
These people must come unto the Lord. They got to get right with the Lord
Absolutely, because if not, man,
before they can get anything done appropriately, anything done correctly. They're trying to do it without God, folks, and they're also trying to mock the Lord. They're mocking him.
he don't like it at
They're
all.
hypocrites.
Yes,
They know better, and they justify it.
and let me tell you something, people.
Because they lost in the Supreme Court
Right.
and they don't know how
But-
to lose.
but our time here
Brother
on this
Chappell
earth-
said the Supreme Court spanked them. A
Oh,
stern
yeah.
spanking.
Oh yeah, and a scolding on top
And
of
these
that.
people are very vindictive.
But
They came to kill us, folks.
But they didn't
and
get-
they think they're above the law.
But they need to get
wanna
right with the Lord just
they wa-
because of salvation.
Oh,
because
yeah.
this is temporary,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
eternal. You know
Oh,
what I'm
yeah.
saying? So I mean, you better get right with the Lord. Whoever that's doing all this abuses, and you know who you are. You need to get right with the Lord because eternal is forever. And let me tell you what, you get thrown in a lake of fire for eternity. There's no getting out. There's no looking back.
Oh, yeah. And now all this is blown up on them, and they're in hell on earth because they can't imagine their plan
Right.
backfired on them.
And it
The
has.
$5 million extortion scheme backfired. The $10 million sabotage backfired. Margaret Lacey giving away $40,000 when the Supreme Court ruling backfired. Margaret Lacey sabotaging $150,000 Liberty Bank loan backfired.
Giving away your information.
And now you've got the sheriff, Phil Sims, in direct contempt of a federal court mandate because he illegally, unjustly, unconstitutionally, absolutely ungodly and un-Americanly closed a $300,000 theft case and blamed Miss Eugenia and said that she refused to cooperate with the investigation.
that's
There
the first
never was
question.
an investigation.
No.
And get this, folks, you need to know who these people really are. When I went to get a copy of the report, I was told I had to get a court order to get a copy of the report.
A court
Does
order.
that not raise a red flag?
Something suspicious
What?
about that.
My driver's license was on that report.
And they're surprised
As the
judges would never
victim
give
for
you a
Miss
court order.
Eugenia. Why
Oh,
do I
absolutely.
have to get a court order? to get a copy of my police report.
That is a stall tactic.
Yeah.
Hey, they're trying to stonewall you there too.
So then, guess what? You call it serendipity. It was a very chance encounter, if you will.
Right.
A quantum moment.
It's called
I
corruption.
happened to be in Gunnersville, and I see the deputy that took the report. He's a good man.
Absolutely.
And I
The
said, hey,
deputies ain't the problem.
aren't you the deputy that took that $300,000 automobile theft report? Yeah. He said, yeah. I said, well, they won't give me a copy. He said, they won't give you a copy. Why not? I said, they're saying because Brother Chappell died, which they stressed him to death with all this stalling and stonewalling where, you know, they were abusing us again. They said, because he died, I've got to get a court order to get a copy. And he said, you gave me your driver's license and Brother Chappell gave me his driver's license. You don't need a court order. You go down there in about 3 days and you get a copy. So I did, and when I got it, so help me God, it said case closed. Victim refused to cooperate with the investigation.
And you even sat there for about 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I
waiting on
said,
somebody.
hey, ma'am, I need to see a deputy because this ain't right. We need to reopen this case because this ain't right. So she said, well, have a seat and we'll get a deputy down here to see what, you know, is going on. And I sat there for about 15
And the
minutes.
good Lord
And then
thumped
I
you in the
walked
head.
out. I walked,
And the good Lord thumped you in the head.
yeah,
like,
and said, you know what? Don't sit here and wait for an hour as they stall you out.
Yeah.
I went back to the window. Knock, 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 knock. Hey, ma'am, I'm going to just go on. I've waited 15 minutes. I'm going to go on to the house.
that was on a Friday, too.
Yeah, on the Friday. You know, y'all are busy. I'm going to go on to the house with this and just take it.
Yep.
All right. So then we filed at 9:05 a.m.
9:05
on Monday
Monday
morning
morning.
with Chief
Absolutely.
Justice of who? The
I don't know.
Commander-in-Chief of the United
Yeah, we
States.
just went to
Whatever it takes.
Hugo
y'all.
L. Black building.
Nobody should be put through this,
Nobody.
y'all. I
No.
didn't sign up to be an attorney.
That's what the
I
Constitution's
don't want to be
for.
a pro se court filing citizen. I have other intentions for my life. I never wanted to have to be in court for nothing.
But you're protected by the Bill of Rights, and they totally went against the Constitution of the United States of America, written by our forefathers, and is totally, blatantly, disrespectfully not giving a.
Hey, all things work together for good, and it's like I told you, if someone's being violated by a state or federal agent, you go file under the Ku Klux Klan Act, 1871.
Thank you, Ulysses S. Grant.
Yeah, Ulysses S. Grant. We owe him a debt of gratitude for that.
Hey, imagine that. He's on a $50 bill, and Marshall County's number's 52.
Good point. And there's 5 judges
And there's
that are
5
crooked in
judges. Oh, my
5-0
goodness.
County.
So this
And look,
numerology.
5 people that need to be put in federal prison.
And
Real
5 people need
quick.
to be doing the walk of shame.
Margaret Lacey,
Yep,
Cadence Bank Vice President. We got to go with Sheriff Phil Sims.
absolutely.
Marshall County, Alabama, USA. Then you got to go with Chris Bailey, Liberty Bank. He told the FDIC that Miss Collins, Miss Eugenia, was trying to extort Liberty Bank for money.
That's a lie. That's a flat out lie right
And he
there.
told the FDIC that the World War II veteran, well, he was an abhorrent liar. There was never a prayer spoken in my office. Better be careful about that one,
But
Chris
they
Bailey.
calling him a liar,
All
too.
of that is signed and filed by who? Roger Court Chappell, a.k.a. Spiritual Grandpa Brother Chappell, against you in state court, federal court, at the FDIC. You're not going to get away with this, Chris
And
Bailey.
it's there forever.
You are not going to get away with this. You attacked a World War II. That's something you do not do in America. And I ask, what in you allowed yourself to be victimized by Margaret Lacey from Memphis? We call her Memphis Marge. What in you allowed you to be victimized like that? You knew you were doing wrong.
Did she offer
She
you
told
money?
you to abuse Miss Eugenia, abuse Brother Chappell, abuse. Why? Because she wanted the property. You assisted her in $1 million real estate heist.
He's
You
accessory.
tried to bankrupt Miss Collins by lying so that Margaret could foreclose and have Sheriff Phil Sims serve the foreclosure paper.
Isn't that Liberty Bank
Yeah,
down here, Geraldine?
and evict Miss Eugenia off of her property that she's paid Marshall County on that one property alone $240,000 in property tax, and she's paid Margaret Lacey $100,000 in interest. That's $340,000 right there on a $340,000 bank loan. And then you got the sheriff and the banker trying to steal the whole $1 million property and keep the interest and keep the tax money. You don't get it both ways like that, Margaret and Phil.
Well, guess
and
what?
then you got the judges backing you. You got the chiropractic doctor backing you. You got other real estate professionals backing you. No, that's a conspiracy to interfere with a private business enterprise.
Another
That's a
violation.
federal RICO civil and criminal violation of that act, the Federal RICO Act. You cannot interfere with private business enterprise. Why? Because you could take a $30 bottle of poison and put it in a watering trough and kill 100 head of cattle. And then you go buy that man's cattle farm that you've sabotaged at the bankruptcy auction, telling people at the auction, you know what, I think it's something in the fescue. I don't think a man could ever have sheep or cows or horses
I'm fixing
on this farm. I'm fixing to pay pennies on the dollar for this because I think it's something in the fescue grass. I think it's poison coming up through the fescue grass. Look at that, folks. You can't sabotage somebody for profit.
Right.
And especially when you're conspiring the government with corporate America over and over and over again against a small business. This is a $28 billion bank and $1 trillion state coming down on a small American family because the family stopped them in a $5 million extortion scheme, and then the government sabotaged $10 million in retaliation.
And this has been going on for how long?
It started when we went and moved to Marshall County and set up shop down there.
It started at the Buckeye
Well,
Massacre.
it started 160 years ago.
And it's still
Folks,
going on
that's
today.
160 years ago.
It is time for it to stop. Enough is enough,
And that's
Alabama.
1863. The government hung and shot Miss Eugenia's family, my family, without a trial. The reason I am putting on these clothes is, first of all, I grew up wearing tall boots on the farm
You
with
grew up on
horses.
something like this right here.
And
Look how beautiful, people.
these are photos exist of Benjamin Roden and Portland Roden and the other family members that were hung and shot on Buck Island. And notice, one day after Christmas, December 26, 1863, hung and shot without a trial in violation of their constitutional rights for their property. It was a land grab, murder by land. It was a land grab by murder. Okay, that's 160 years ago this year. All right, then you go to 1935, and that's when my great grandpa, they called him Samuel Clarence Johnson, aka Slick, 6 foot 7 inches tall,
Oh, man.
lean, tall, and he got shot right in the heart on Christmas morning.
Wow.
December 25th, 1935, in the
Tragic.
midst of the Great Depression.
That's tragedy right there.
Okay, all right. Then 1965, Albertville executes, here we go, folks, mob violence against Miss Eugenia's brother that had set up shop in Albertville. David Keith Rogers committed suicide after they financially ruined him. That was August 7th, 1965. All right. Then, now you see them hit Miss Collins, my mother, Miss Eugenia R. Collins. When we moved there, we'd been there 9 months. We moved there in 2000, and in 2001, they blew up our lives with this $5 million extortion scheme.
But once you first got here, some dude walked up to you and told you, "Hey, why'd you move here? You know, you moved to a crooked county."
You know the county's crooked.
Yeah.
3 different people came in. See, you realize they say, like, look, we gave them warning. Now we get to rob them because we notified them the county's crooked. I didn't know what that meant. I thought it meant like speed traps. Like overcharging people for speeding
We're
tickets
talking about
or
biased
something.
judges.
Oh, we're talking
crooked
about killing
sheriffs.
you for your property.
Yes.
And look at this. All of this right now, this $1 million real estate heist is over, in essence, a field. Just dirt, folks. How
Yep.
dare they? They were going to kill the most valuable possession on this earth to me, which is my mother. They're going to kill my mother for a field of dirt? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In essence, Margaret said, you got a badge and gun, get them.
That's why we're going June the 10th, which is tomorrow at 10 o'clock at Little River Canyon, and we're going to have a protest because we're going to stand up for our rights, and we're going to stand up for our First Amendment. We're going to say and we're going to speak what we need to speak and how we need to speak it. Like I said, people, if you want to come down there, you're more than welcome. The more the merrier. We'd appreciate every one of y'all. You know, like I said, the news might even show up. You never know, man. But we need to make it as peaceful as possible and just show your red, white, and blue.
Yeah, I remember reading a book about Mother Teresa, and one time during the 60s, she was asked to participate in a war protest against the Vietnam War. And she said this, I would never participate. She said,
I would never participate in a protest against the war. Now, when you have a protest for peace, I'm all in. Did you hear that?
Yes.
She said, I would never participate in a protest against a war. But when you have a protest for peace, I'm all in. Powerful folks, Mother Teresa. I want to just ask if there's anything else that you want to add or say. What's the time on that?
46 minutes.
Well, we got time, but folks, the farm is a very sacred place, and this is, look at that horse. What do you call that where it goes north, south, east, west?
Oh, yeah.
Focus in on that, if you can.
It's a
zoom
wind.
in all the way on that.
This is as close as we get right there. Look at this, people. This is beautiful, serene, peace. This is what God's intention on earth to be, is peace. And you have it right here.
Oh, yeah, they came forth. They want her farm. They want her property in Albertville. They want to bankrupt her and steal her life savings and her farm in Geraldine and her Marshall County property in Albertville. And there is so much proof on that. Is that true, Rick Joe?
That is totally true.
They would say he is a liar. No, they are caught. Do you agree with that, Rick Joe?
They are caught. But right now, look at God's work. Look how beautiful. Hear the birds chirping in the background. Why can't man be like that? You know, why can't man be peaceful? Why do they all the time got to be trying to take somebody's property or take somebody's stuff? Why you got to be like that for, Marshall County? God intended it for us to love one another, not to hate one another.
It's greed, folks, and greed overtakes everything. I want to read Mother Teresa's quote. We can close with that. People are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered.
Right.
Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give them your best anyway. In the final analysis, it is between you and God. It was never between you and them.
Anyway, Mother Teresa.
I love that quote.
All right, folks, we've quoted St. Augustine. The truth is like a lion. You do not have to defend it. Let it loose. It will defend itself. And then Mother Teresa's quote. What's so powerful about the internet is you can just Google a few words of either of those quotes and you'll pull it up on your Google search. But anyway, definitely Google Johnson versus Marshall County. If you care about the future of the civilized world, you're going to put a stop to this, because they killed a World War II. They have financially ruined my mother. Imagine if it was your mother. Most people that are interacting with us, they don't have their mothers. You understand? Most people that are interacting with us are 50, 60, 70, 80 plus years, and none of them have their mother. And most of them are saying, as you can imagine, my God, if I could only have my mother back for a day.
5 minutes. Just 5 more minutes. Like that song says, 5 more minutes will change my life.
And they want the death of my mother for a field.
Well, guess what? The good Lord ain't gonna let it happen. The good Lord's fixing to cleanse Alabama. And like I said, people, you need to get right with the Lord. If not, man, you're talking about eternity here. This is all temporary. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We'll all return to it. You know what I'm saying? Just get right with the Lord.
Absolutely. We pray for.
Even though you're evil and you're doing all these bad things, you know, to Miss Eugenia, you know, our elderly, we're supposed to respect our elders. We still pray for you, man, and we still love you. Because that's the godly way, man.
But look, if you can't stop yourself and you can't make this right, you got to be put in a cage.
Yeah.
And then it's got to be made right. But you're either going to remain free or go to jail. But you know you done wrong.
Eternity's eternity.
And you thought you could get away with it, folks. These people have hidden behind the law they broke. As in, I know my rights. I got Fifth Amendment rights. I got the right to remain silent. I got the money to hire good lawyers. I'm going to get his cases dismissed on technicalities. I'm going to lawyer up, and I'm going to reattack when the smoke clears. They have done this over and over and over again. These are the judges, the lawyers, the bankers, the chiropractic doctors. There's 2. One let a high-powered illegal firearm be placed under a flannel shirt in my exam room. Well, that was to scare me, folks. These people are not scaring me. The truth scares them. And you know what? I read a bumper sticker once. It was in a Los Angeles traffic jam, and there it was. Bullies do not like themselves, and liars fear the truth.
True.
That sums the whole story up, folks. These are bullies, and they're fearful.
They're bullies that wear gowns.
I think you'd probably need to elaborate on that one.
Let me tell you something, people. These people that wear these black gowns, they're the bullies, you know what I'm saying? Because they hold your life in their hands. They could put you in prison for the rest of your life, or you get stuck with a needle and there you go, you know what I'm saying?
You're talking about judicial robes.
I'm talking about judicial robes, absolutely.
Kind of like the Pope wears a white one.
Yeah, but they
and
wear
kind of like the Ku Klux Klan wears a white one. Folks, you got to look past the image.
Yes.
You got to look past the image.
What kind of man wears a gown?
Yes.
All right,
and look, my family went to their hangings dressed like this.
Yes, absolutely.
Just like this.
Aristocratic style. You know what I mean?
Tall boots, leather belts,
Yep. Leather strap.
and cowboy hats. Do what you got to do.
Exactly.
Do what you got to do. I'm a citizen of heaven. Do what you got to do.
Absolutely. Trust in God.
I'll
not
get
man.
my reward on the other side.
That's it. But Alabama, don't forget your ways. Don't forget where you came from. Especially remember the Bill of Rights, your rights.
Don't never forget them. Teach them to your children, because if you don't teach them to your children, ain't nobody will. Especially Alabama, they ain't gonna teach you nothing like that, because they're trying to move toward a fascist style government.
So one more time, folks, you got Margaret Lacey,
Yes.
you got Sheriff Phil Sims,
Yes.
you got Chris Bailey,
Yep.
you got Jimmy Carnes,
Yep.
then you take your pick on the judges. There's 6, and you can take your pick. Maybe it's all 6. But anyway, folks, that's just the key players. Now, we filed against 64 because U.S. District Court Judge Axon said, name them all. I
Absolutely.
said, oh, there's more than 28. Well, name them all.
She wanna
So
know
I
every
added
one
them
of
at
them.
64. Initially, I've just put down 28 of them.
Right.
And look, folks, you have to put down, and let me say this about that real quick. I never signed up to be a lawyer. I never claimed to be any kind of thing close to a lawyer. I don't want to be a lawyer. I wouldn't have it. I remember right here, this farm used to, for 14 years, we had big family reunions. We used to rent golf carts from Mayor HONEA. He knows my brother. He played guitar with him on stage. And he's a good man. Mayor HONEA is, as well as my brother, Damon Johnson. But my point is, they knew that we were having 125 people on average on an annual first Sunday in June family reunion. They have broken us financially where we can't even afford family reunions.
In other words, they're trying to tear your family apart. Your
Oh,
whole,
they have.
the whole family, not just you and your brothers. I'm talking about your cousins, your aunts, your uncles. Well, enough's enough, man. You got to draw a line.
We would drop about $5,000. We would rent all those bouncy houses. We would have entertainers here, live entertainment.
That sounds like that'd be fun, though, for real.
Oh, it was just a big, summer festival.
It lasts more than one day,
Oh,
a whole
yeah.
weekend.
Oh, many of them slept here, camped out here. It was just
That'd
a
be
big
awesome.
time. And Leonard Skinner music played, and watermelons, and cooking out, and just a big party, big summer family party.
We're gonna bring that to the Monroe compound
Oh yeah.
just one day. But check out the scenery, people. I mean, look what God created. You got to appreciate it.
Very serene.
Very. Oh,
Surely
peace.
the presence of God is in this place.
Oh,
And I was not aware.
look at my chill bumps I got on my arms. But look at that sky. Only God can do something like that.
You hear the birds too.
Absolutely.
I tell people, close your eyes and let God come to you in nature and through your ears.
This would be a great place for that. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm feeling it right now.
Stop thinking. Go beyond thought. You got to pray. You got to fast. You got to read scripture. You got to meditate. You got to get right with the Lord every day, all the time. These people are part-time truth tellers,
Yep.
part-time law abiders, part-time patriot Americans. It's just hypocrisy.
With all the abuses that y'all be going through, you still fly the American flag.
Oh, you
Let me tell you
constantly-
something, people.
Yes.
This is one of the most patriotic people in the world that I've ever met right here, man.
Oh, God.
Yeah, World War II Navy veteran, firm believer of the Constitution. Look at here.
Constantly,
Look,
folks.
look, people, he rides
We
around.
don't travel without the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and see, I forgot the rest of it myself.
Justice for all, for liberty and justice for all.
And justice for Miss Eugenia.
We the people.
And how's
Get
the
it?
how's the
That's all
bill
you
right
gotta know.
starts?
We the people.
We the people.
Liberty and justice for all.
Hey, don't we got that?
Equal justice under law.
Yes.
We seek only the truth.
That's it. And we tell only the truth. And we got the proof to back it. So, I mean, if you want the proof, just come on down there tomorrow and we'll show you everything you need to know. And then, then the officials will be doing the walk of shame. The Marshall County Shuffle to the walk of shame.
They've committed federal crimes, folks. Bank fraud, folks.
Yeah, that's
Hold
federal.
these people accountable. They would hold you accountable, I promise you. And I promise you, in $1 million real estate heist, you'd get 10 years just for the figure added to your sentence
$1 million?
because of the dollar value. And this is not including the $10 million sabotage. This is not including the $5 million extortion scheme. This is not including the $10 million sabotage scheme. This is just a $1 million real estate heist. If you attempted to rob a bank
for $1 million, as Margaret Lacey and Sheriff Sims and the Marshall County
She did.
authorities,
She did rob the bank.
you'd get, I don't know, what would you get? 20 to life?
What? With $40,000, you'll get 15 years.
Yeah, for $40,000, you get 15
And she
years.
doesn't give $40,000 away.
All right. Like, share, and subscribe.
Know your rights,
Pray
Alabama.
for us. We pray for you. Thank you.
Come see us tomorrow at Little River Canyon, 10 o'clock.